Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I'm going to start a regular feature. We're going to call it Memos from the Bunker. I'm going to try and run them at least once a week, more often if I have time. Louis McNeely and I have conversations. The comment section. You've probably seen them. Sometimes we stay pretty close to the idea of the video, and other times we wander off in other directions. Well, we got to talking, and it reminded me of a story. Louis had set up the throttle on his Root lawnmower, and he had changed things around a little bit and ended up having the throttle operating backwards the way it used to. Well, it took him a little time to get used to the idea, and we talked about ways of getting around it. It reminded me of his story. So here we go. Our brains are set up to respond in certain ways. My first go-kart had 4-inch hard rubber tires on the front. The ground clearance was about 3 inches. Didn't matter on the flat ground, but we tended to drive it pretty much everywhere. Steering linkage was under the frame and set up so the steering wheel followed the standard top of the steering wheel goes right, go-kart steers right. Just like your car. Pretty simple. I wanted to stop knocking the steering linkage apart every time I hit a molehill. The crashes were epic. I flipped the linkages up to the top of the frame by setting the pitman arm on top of the steering column instead of on the bottom. In other words, I turned the steering wheel upside down so that the control arm was pointing up instead of pointing down. We were going to go out to my friend's grandmother's where he had graded a track in an unused pasture. There was a big hill in the back, so the track was an oval, then it turned downhill about halfway down the front straight to a hairpin turn and back up the hill to join the oval. None of the go-karts had brakes. They were go-karts. I was 13. The throttle was a hand lever down by the right side of the seat. 15 miles an hour. Maybe 20 downhill with a tailwind and a 45-degree slope. Started the go-kart and headed towards the right-hand turn to go downhill. I was gaining speed when I noticed that it was really awkward to steer. That goes without saying. The track was longer than the backyard at home, and I was approaching top speed just before the right hand. I let off the throttle and made it around the turn. Gaining confidence, I opened the throttle. Now I was on the downhill and accelerating. When he was making the hairpin turn at the bottom, my friend cranked the lower arm on the 3-point hitch so the discs threw the dirt to the outside of the curve. It had maybe a 15-degree bank. The go-karts could make the turn easily at top speed. When I got to the bottom of the hill, instead of turning left into the hairpin, I unconsciously turned right. Nope. This was right. This was left. I needed to turn this way, and instead, I turned this way. Up and over the bank at between 15 and infinity miles an hour. No safety equipment. Helmet, seatbelt, gloves, nada. I was launched off the seat and up over the steering wheel. I landed on all fours in front of the cart. The hand throttle was still wide open. Hand throttle. Thinking quickly, I scrambled through the weeds as fast as I could go, hoping that the go-kart wouldn't run over me. Fortunately, the single drive wheel lost traction and I was able to get out of the way as it slowed down. We went back to the barn and flipped the steering wheel over where it was. That was my first experience with practical engineering. What seemed simple in the beginning doesn't always end up the way you expected. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.